Genesis chapter 8, verse 8. In the prior verse, we saw Noah sending out a raven in verse 7 to test the waters to see if they were receding yet. Now we're going to see the next step in the process and a different bird. Let's begin. Kai epistelein tein peristeron opiso altu. Idain e kekopaken tahidor apaprasopu tes geis. Well, we don't have an express subject here. This is a third singular aorist verb, aorist active indicative from apostello. Probably looks familiar. See a little spelling change there. Epsilon past time indicator. So the subject here is still going to be Noah from the prior verses. So Noah sent. And I'll mention just really briefly in passing that some of the manuscripts have ex apostello, which makes sense. He sent it out of the ark, so to speak. Fair number of manuscripts actually have that, but let's keep going. So what did he send? Tein peristeron. So peristera is a dove or perhaps a pigeon, and this is the first occurrence of that, at least in the Septuagint. And so kind of interesting, a very notable bird there. So he sends out a dove, and then we have opiso altu. Now, opiso means after, or like following behind someone. The altu is referring back to the prior raven. So after that bird, he's now sending a different kind of bird, this dove, after that one. Now, why? Idain. Now, this is going to be the aorist active infinitive from horao. So it's in order to see, or something like that. Now, you might expect, if you're familiar with your infinitives, to have a genitive article before it. In fact, a lot of manuscripts do indeed have that. That would probably be a little bit more straightforward syntax. Whenever you have that, that article plus the infinitive, that's very clearly marking it as a purpose infinitive or sometimes a result infinitive. Either way, in this case, it's in order to see. Now, I think the Old Greek doesn't have that, and that's fine. But I thought it was interesting that some scribes try to clarify it and dial that in a bit more. And he's going to see if, so we actually saw that kind of construction previously, earlier with the other bird, if kekopaken. This is from kopazo. Again, we saw that also in verse 7. It means to cease or come to rest. Third singular perfect active indicative. You can see that kappa and the reduplication here. And the sort of secondary subject is the water. So very similar structure, by the way, to the prior verse. So in order to see if the water had ceased or something like that. And then we have apoprasopu, so from the face, or in this case, probably from the surface of the earth. So it's the next stage in his testing process to figure out when can they come out of the ark. Now, this use of peristera here often gets some attention in the Gospels, and I'm just going to use Matthew here, though you could do the same thing with Mark or Luke. In all three accounts, you have something like this. It's longer or shorter, depending on the Gospel you're looking at. When Jesus was baptized, immediately he went up from the water, and behold, the heavens were opened to him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove. Notice the exact same vocabulary there and coming to rest on him. So there's a long-standing debate within gospel scholarship as to why in the world does the Spirit take this kind of manifestation, or, depending on how you want to parse the vocabulary, is the Spirit looking like a dove, or is the descent itself dove-like? Either way, the question has always been, why a dove? Of course, at Pentecost, it's something like flames of fire and so on. And some will argue, a pretty common view is that maybe the dove somehow goes back to the flood. There's another option that goes all the way back to Genesis 1, where you see in some of the Aramaic traditions this idea that the Spirit of God is fluttering, kind of bird-like, if you will. That's another option. I don't know what to make of this one, though. It's really hard to figure out, in my opinion, how to connect this particular scene and the sending out of a dove, just because it is a dove, to something with respect to the Spirit and Jesus' baptism. I mean, yes, there's water in Jesus' baptism, but I've always found this particular option to not be terribly persuasive, although a lot of commentators, good commentators, take that view. I tend to take the view of, I don't know, actually, why the Spirit is in why there's some sort of connection between the Spirit of God descending on Jesus and the dove. But I thought I'd at least point that out, that this use of peristera here is often engaged in the study of Jesus' baptism. So I'll leave that for you to sort that out. Thanks for tuning in, Genesis 8:8.